Welcome back to the World's 2017 elimination stage. We're still Mark and Dracos, but we've swapped out our NA bias to accommodate some EU analysis with Andrew Vediastay.
Hello, gentlemen. How are you?
Good, man.
Full.
Mark, yes, very quickly ate. All right, well, the stage is set for our next series of the day, Fnatic versus Hong Kong Attitude. Now, these two teams are coming into it after a pretty rough play-in group stage, both very close to the top, but still didn't feel like the cleanest sets.
Yeah, I mean, I think these guys probably had the hardest time getting into exactly where they wanted to be. HKA narrowly missed that #1 seed after taking 1907 Fenerbahce to a tiebreaker, unable to actually convert on it after that. So you got to feel like they are hungry for some revenge.
Yeah, and looking back at that game, it was so close too. Both those teams fighting tooth and nail to try and secure that first place spot. But unfortunately for HKA, they just couldn't find the teamwork, couldn't find those mid-game fights that would allow them to win the game. But you can see that in terms of their early game, it's definitely an area that Fnatic might need to be scared of.
Definitely, because when we look at how Fnatic were able to come out on top, a lot of strong team fighting, a lot of strong ability in some of those games, but definitely not consistency across the board.
It's basically like everyone struggled at one point during their games. They did smash very hard in the bot lane 3 games before they finally had their one struggle, and even then they went late a couple times. So there's still a little bit of cleaning up to do, but it's hard to see them not performing here just because they have so many strong players.
Yeah, and I think it's really fascinating to look at how these teams go, because you have one team that built a lot of their advantages in terms of the early laning phase, whereas Fnatic, one of their big strengths was their ability to team fight, their coordination. Some of their comebacks were really impressive in finding those opportune fights and those opportune moments to swing things in there.
And you talk about the laning phase, mid lane does feel like it could be a mismatch given the success that Godquai and Mission were able to have and how shaky Brox and Capsa look. They did have some good performances, but also were kind of a weakness at certain points.
Oh yeah, they were doing a good job punishing mid laners when they had their summoners down. They were able to get onto Frozen a couple times, who was supposed to be one of the big playmakers for 1907 Fenerbahce, and he was a little bit later in the game, but it did feel like Mission was giving him a little bit of trouble, and we were seeing Caps struggle against Null and some other people in the play-in stage.
Yeah, but the big thing that I'm going to be looking at in terms of HK's ability moving from the laning phase is what they can do with their gold leads, because we've seen a trend now with this team where they get this early lead either through the mid lane or through their AD carry, but then they never really push this gold lead that much further. It stagnates, and that is a reason why 1907 Fenerbahce were able to find that big win earlier on, and it could be an avenue with which Fnatic can take advantage of.
Definitely true, and now I also want to look at a little bit of the bot lane. Despite Reckless's most recent performance not being the greatest, I think he is still a massive threat on the team, and I think we have to look at how Unified is actually going to stack up in terms of individual playmaking.
Absolutely, we're going to have a good test here of Reckless to see how he's going to match up to the rest of the world, because Unified has looked great. He's probably been even more so than Mission, one of the focal points of the early game for HKA. He has made a lot of leads, but he has very tough competition, because Jez and Reckless have been great as well.
They certainly have been. This 2v2 powerhouse bottom lane has been exciting to watch, and as a European fan, those will be one of the players that I'll be keeping my eye on throughout this series.
Lots of things to look out for. Well, let's send it to Pyre and Frost to get us into the first game of the series.
Thank you very much, Dracos, and welcome to our next series of the day. I'm Devin Pyrotechnics Young, and joining me in my Song of Ice and Fire is none other than Indiana Frusker in black. How are you?
But it's Frost, it's not Frost.
You know, I've been trying to spell that out for years. I still can't do it. Let's turn our attention towards the players taken to the stage today. On the blue side for game #1, it's Fnatic, which means up in the top lane, we've got Soaz. Prowling the jungle will be Broxa. Caps in the mid. AD carry Reckless. Support Jez's and their coach, Dylan Falco.
And scoring up against them on the red side, it's Hong Kong Attitude from the LMS. In the top lane, it's Reapered. Jungle is going to be Godquai. Mid is Mission, Bot, Unified, and support Kaiwing with Coach Tabe.
And there's definitely been a lot of rumblings about this team. Very, very hyped up by a lot of the analysts. And of course, they have had their own troubles, but they're still looking exceptionally strong when they can build those leads early on in their games.
Yeah, they are a strong laning phase team, and let's kind of set the record straight. Yes, both Fnatic and HK had some struggles to get into this match, and yes, we now have 2 Pool 1 seeds facing off against each other for one more spot left in group stage, but ultimately, these are both the 3rd place seeds from the region. This is the 3rd place seed from EU, the 3rd place seed from the LMS, and finally, we get to answer that question. Is the LMS just a top 2 team region, or can Hong Kong Attitude actually put up a good fight and actually go the distance? Because I still feel that Fnatic are slightly favored in this.
Oh, they have to be. And even the fact that there's been a lot of question marks about Fnatic, the expectations always been a little bit higher from a region like EU. However, the LMS has produced some powerhouses, even if they're the names most people are always recognizing, the likes of Flash Wolves, of AHQ. I heard a lot of analysts talking about how this team might be better than AHQ this year.
And I frankly do have to agree. Yes, it was AHQ that took the second seed, but if you look at the march through to even get Hong Kong Attitude here, they look very impressive. And it's individually, lane by lane, pound by pound per talent, matching up from AHQ. I weight a lot of the players. You know, Unified is such a great ADC, even though On has that veteranship status behind him. Reapered is performing better in the top lane than Ziv has had this entire split. So HKA are a team to be feared.